This conference will now be recorded.
Nothing. This I can't smell it. It'd be nice to smell stuff at work.
Really?
Like the chicken and the pork get me really bad right now. Yeah, in the morning. Certain smells.
What?
And nothing smells, no. Nothing smells rotten or anything. It's like flour or like shit I don't like. Oh, or you feel it.
Those are for when people, I think.
When I moved to Fruit
Wow,
in
you weren't lying.
That's
Yeah.
good. Corey and Sean.
I can see here.
I don't know.
Wow, there are
Right, Ginger?
crazy till now.
Move to approve the minutes, they'll abstain.
I was here at
In the audience.
I was physically in the back. And item you should abstain. I didn't know anything. So yeah, and you'll be the very first one that has.
Article? Paul McMullen shared it to his Facebook page. That's how I saw it. Yeah, okay. I sent it to Casey on
Oh,
Messenger.
that is seven.
I like them both.
I can't do
The Big Sky one is a little biased, of course, but that's fine. It was still nice and all the information was there.
I wish reporters would quit trying to make a competition out.
Yes.
No, don't lock it.
School bond committee. Thanks, Nicole. There was a joint meeting between the two school boards. No, they're okay. Big Size is a little biased, but I expected it to be biased. But like they go on to say, like, they want the lines redrawn. Hold again, right? Even with the county, that we're.
Yeah. Did you open that?
Know what I mean?
Can you put that in the budget?
So I don't really want to.
Yeah, right.
The door that stays unlocked when we're here.
Hey, morning, talk about.
So yeah, that annoys me. Yeah, I think 68% of the taxes are over here.
I didn't hear commission comment.
Take Alex's.
When the door unlocks.
Hi, Mr. Mr. Greenbaum.
Trevor, can you open that door?
Oh, yeah,
Travis,
that lock,
I'd be
sorry.
Okay, good evening.
How are you?
Doing well. Who's speaking?
Good, how are you?
State your name and rank.
Happy New Year.
Oh. John, Christie.
Christy, okay.
Yeah.
The emails suck. I have a printer now just because of this, but they print the packet. The clean time.
Which is good.
Dude, line items are kind of all done and then the receipts are in the back if you really want to review it.
So, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
So the ones that say right here.
All right, because I think we were expecting another person to sign in. Seymour Butts. Does anybody know a Seymour Butts? I'm not hearing anything from the town of Ennis.
You want to start now?
Somebody must have.
Our first item for our public hearing is ordinance 145, an ordinance repealing and replacing the noise ordinance for the town of Ennis. Do you have any public comment on the ordinance?
The way we talked about, and I didn't read the resolution, but, right here, but did we decide on like an actual decibel? Or was it, because I know that was something that John Moore brought up that was tough to enforce.
No, this leaves it to the discretion.
Okay, so just basically loud and raucous noise.
That portion that he was talking about codes,
Okay.
and we are repealing that.
And I guess I would defer to Greenbaum on this because I'm not good at necessarily making sure the language reads how we want it to read, but from my understanding at the last meeting, we wanted to be sure that the noise ordinance did not affect live music that happens during the summer. And so I want to be sure that however it's written in here that live music can continue during, you know, the hours of 6 a.m. to there was some controversy on whether that was written correctly in here.
Kelly from the gravel bar asked me to see it, to see what we were doing, because he was scared of that, it affecting his music. But he stops by 10. They either move inside
Right.
or they're done, so he didn't think it affected him. The other one we were talking about was Lily's, right?
Mm-hmm.
But by 8, so I don't think it'll affect.
So I guess the way I'm reading it is that under number 6, it says it is unlawful to perform any of the following acts anywhere within the town's jurisdictional limit. There, I would think music falls. Addresses non-emergency, construction, snow blowers, containers, outdoor events, but,
And gatherings.
well, Lily's music isn't outdoors,
Oh, but they might have a patio in the future.
but right now they're not.
Yeah.
Down, first page, under the certificate.
So if you read later, it defines missions for those, and it is left to the discretion of the officer.
Of the sheriff. I can
Whether it's
understand the
reasonable
concern of the
within
local
the definition.
merchants with music.
Have you checked your microphones to see if they're all on?
I briefly glanced over it when Jim gave it to me originally, just looking at the language to make sure it fit our ordinance, but I have not. My job is not to propose ordinances, my job is to enforce them.
Hey, John, I heard you there briefly, and I've heard Brittany, but I cannot hear anybody else. Over?
They never had a complaint. So what's the big deal?
Well, the problem was
Nobody's
that
gonna walk around with a machine.
John didn't have a machine to test decibels before, so that's why we're
However,
trying.
since 2013, we have had no written formal noise complaint in city limits.
But if we did,
Also
Big
have
thing with the
the
noises.
state statute, of course, instead of the ordinance, so it's not like this side, we have a state statute, public nuisance that can be enforced also.
Doesn't require a decibel meter.
Yes.
this is written right now under number 6, it says it's unlawful to perform any of the following acts anywhere within the town's jurisdictional limits. A is sound amplifying equipment. B, yelling and shouting. C, defective vehicle or road. D is loudspeakers, amplifiers, public address systems. So would that mean that the high school speaker system would be unlawful? And
Yeah.
the 4th of July.
Yes,
So
in my
how do
opinion.
we address that? Because we don't, I mean, right, we don't.
I'm not an attorney, I'm gonna have to defer to the attorney on that language.
Those are my concerns, is the music and the events we have in town where people use speakers being called unlawful. I don't think that anyone's ever wanted that before, I guess. Especially local businesses with live music, but then also the high school with football games, the 4th of July parade. These are all things that need to be maybe. Homecoming parade, yeah, there's multiple things that happen where it would be unlawful as written.
Anybody online have a comment?
Well, I'd just like to clarify, I mean, I'm not hearing everything that's being said down there, number one. But number two, the object of this proposed ordinance is to give the town some reasonable opportunity to enforce loud, raucous, obnoxious nuisance noises, which unfortunately we cannot enforce under the current town code. Now, any of the concerns I think I heard expressed about, live music and live entertainment, if you look at the language in this proposed noise ordinance, it states unless as authorized by the town. So if somebody wants to have an outdoor event, or if they want to have live music that might otherwise be an infraction or violation under this ordinance, they can get authorization from the town.
Nobody's gonna complain about the high school football games or 4th of July or anything. This is in case somebody has an amplifying
But
machine.
he's saying now they would have to get authorization for it.
Yeah.
I mean, he just made it clear that they would need to get authorization for live music, amplifying, things. So things are changing and people need to be aware that that's how it's written, they would need to come to the town and get approval.
Let's wait for, let public comment and then we'll open it to commission.
Or maybe I didn't understand it, but we already have a state statute, so why we don't?
We do.
Didn't I just hear that from
Montana
John?
code
We
annotated.
do, it's called public nuisance.
Under Montana code annotated, and there is a public nuisance
Okay, so
that
then,
is the fallback for this.
but if we haven't had a incident since 2013, why are we making a law that we already have a law for? I'm not understanding that.
The standard for proving a violation of a public nuisance, and there's your friend, folks. There he is. He just walked right by you. His tail is right there. But to enforce a public nuisance law is a very different standard than a local ordinance noise violation. That's all I can tell you is that if the town commission wants to prevent and give the Ennis Police Department the ability to enforce these types of noise violations, then it's best if you have your own local ordinance.
And we now have an ordinance. They're trying to replace it with one that's cleaned up.
Oh, okay.
Well, the one that you have is completely unenforceable. I mean, it requires the use of some sort of noise sound measuring device. It's specified in your town code. I think that the actual measuring device is specified right in there. It's like something from the 1950s. I don't even know if we have that available to even make that device. There are other issues involved as well, as far as where the officer is when he observes or takes measurement of the obnoxious noise. So this particular proposal is modeled after a noise ordinance that was adopted by City of Bozeman. That's where we generated this. And I would suggest that you give it some good consideration.
Bozeman. We never had a complaint about music over here. If we did, and John can go there and just suggest to them that I'd like you to tone it down, and they would tone it down. This is not Bozeman. it's a waste of time to have this here.
Other public comment? Anybody online? Oh, then we'll close comment there and let the commissioners comment.
Well, maybe are we under the public hearing? So we're closing that for public hearing on item 1, ordinance 145, yes?
Yes,
Are we opening it up to public hearing on item 2, ordinance 146?
I think that's where we are, since we have order on the agenda, your discussion point. Thank you. All right. Moving on to ordinance 146. An ordinance repealing and replacing the district minimums and maximum setbacks in the area chart in Title 11, Chapter 3, Section 4 of the town of Ennis zoning codes. Anybody need a copy of this one?
That's what I was gonna ask. I have a copy if anybody would like a copy. You have a copy?
We have copies out for them up here.
Okay.
There's all kinds of. All right, public comment on ordinance 146. Correct, we haven't received anything in writing or email.
Is there anybody online that has any comments for ordinance number 146?
Basically, it looks like just some of the setbacks for like RTD. Looks like RTD, some of the setbacks just came down a little bit. Because weren't they 25 feet in the original? They stayed the same.
Any other public comment? Anybody online? Close the first reading of ordinance 146. Moves to a regular meeting. I'll stand for the pledge. All right, minutes of the December 2021.
Move to approve.
Second.
Abstain.
She'll ask for it. No, we talk.
She's so quick.
Any corrections or additions?
There's only one question I have for the attorney, since it's moved and seconded. If the people, the newest members were at the meeting, do we abstain from the vote?
Where'd he go? He left us. The
Oh,
cat did something, I don't know. We'll blame it on the cat.
No worries.
We need three people.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
We do.
All right, so, Vicky.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
He wasn't here.
You're here. Nice. All right. Public comment on non-agenda items. Yeah, something, right? Something. Nothing?
I do.
I actually, this is Lisa Roberts. I actually had, I know you already voted on the minutes, maybe. But I just had a correction to those. I think it said that I said that zoning pays its own way. And what I said was development pays its own way in Madison County. And then also in the section, when we discussed the marijuana ordinance, it says, I wasn't advocating for changing the number. I was just saying that was something that we could consider. Thank you.
We're back to public comment on non-agenda.
Welcome to the new members, and thank you to the members who are still on. I know in the last one I attended, we started talking kind of more about the just signage at the south end of town and stuff, and I just would like to, throw it out there again this year. I don't know what we have budget or anything. I mean, MDOT seems like it's, dragging their feet from what I've kind of heard from just asking around town. But I really like Corey's idea of exploring the idea of maybe like a new town sign. I mean, even coming in tonight, I noticed, that, or even just putting a light on the existing one, the copper or bronze one with just the cowboy and the horse doesn't even have a light on it. I mean, too nearly new. The only thing we had there was the danger of the river, the DUI. Lured me in, and the business signs was actually larger, just about as large as the town sign, and it was actually reflective. I caught it more. We have a 35-mile-per-hour sign, and then we have that town sign. I mean, I just feel like, I don't know how we go about it, but like I said, I really liked Corey's comment, the last one, when it was brought up about reflector. I know the MDOT stuff we would have to go to for like the rumble strips and actually like official signage, even like a dangerous curve sign I looked into, that it's all like, official signage. But I feel like the town should have an obligation to, kind of really explore that sometime this year.
Topic up, it seems that coming into town from the
Can you
south.
tell me your name?
Holly Morrison. Starting at about the 43-mile marker. The trucks are still going about 80 miles an hour at that point. By the time you get to mile marker 44 or 45, you're coming into double yellow lines. There's no indication. Small white Ennis sign up with the sports teams. I totally agree with you. Safety first. There's no markings on the bridges. Bridge that there's even bridges up ahead. There's animals that cross there, and it's just incredible. Those trucks do not stop or slow down, even once they hit that 55-mile-an-hour sign. they're already into the S curves. Time they hit 45 miles an hour, they're still going 60 to 70 miles. They should be marked that.
I think some of the issue is we have to annex in the other side of the bridge to move power over there.
Understood, you probably have to go to the DOT.
Right, just.
But you have a voice.
Any other items?
I brought up to Nikki, our mayor, but I'll just bring it up to everyone. I don't know if it's because it's a town entity, but every organization I've ever been involved with, and it's a multitude, their agenda specifies a section before they get to new business that they're going to discuss. Where they circle back and take care of the unfinished business from the previous meeting. There are a lot of good ideas that come floating through here and get suggested and get in the minutes. And that's never get taken to the next level. Some are valid, some are not. I'd just like to see if there isn't any reason why we aren't doing it, that we are doing it another way.
Anybody online for non-agenda public comments?
So, I know the last one I was at, we also about doing an extra 3% for the local ordinance for the marijuana tax, because the state taxes it at 20% automatically. But I know Madison County didn't vote in the local option tax, is what they call it. I think when I was reading on there, and Maria and I were kind of just on social media about it, so I looked into it more. But I think if the county does it, then they delegate, they have to keep 50% of the revenue from the 3% tax for county items, 5% of it for like functionality, operations, I think they called it, but then 45% of it goes to each of the individual towns. But then I think there was also an option where if the county decided not to do it, that a city could decide to do it also. And I think that there was discussion of that a while back. And I know there was like concerns brought up that it would, just drive them to be right outside of town, which wouldn't help anything. I mean, no one wants that. But I didn't know if we had made any progress or if we should reach out to commissioners or sort of like, if that 3% tax, how we could maybe instill that to help or.
We had training this week and I
Okay.
asked kind of about that because they're still learning. Dan doesn't know everything about it.
Yeah.
But we should have had it on the November ballot if we wanted to tax it this year.
Okay.
It'll have to go to the voters.
Okay, so would the county commissioners put that on? Like
We
the
would
next
have to
ballot,
and
or
the county.
You guys would have to do it
Yeah.
in the county.
I think either way they have to vote.
Okay.
It's not a tax you can just do.
Yeah.
All taxation has to go to voters, I'm pretty sure.
Makes sense. Okay, so maybe just for record, like. if
Some
we could
towns, I think,
put
what did
that
he say,
up.
like 5 got ahead of it and actually have it.
Yeah,
coming
well, I
in.
saw that and that's what it brought me to, because I thought Madison County was blind to it, but then they showed the map of what towns voted or what counties voted for the local options tax. And I noticed that we weren't one.
It was
So-
only a few.
Yeah, I saw that.
I think we
So-
voted on the recreational, like the whole state voted on recreational.
Well, yeah.
Not on tax.
28 of 56 counties passed it. But yeah, aside from that, like I just was wondering, how we go about, just for record, sort of, like getting that on a ballot and just see if the county wants it. Could be a good revenue stream.
Along those same notes, if you're just taking public comment, I guess this is from past meetings, I guess, and I don't see it on this agenda, but Trevor brought up the point of basically the town needs money. We need a revenue source. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think we're floating in cash, but I don't see anything on here that we've discussed in the past, that you guys have discussed in the past on some sort of a development fee. Are we gonna wait until everything's built out here, or are we gonna be able to do that, or was that done in the meeting I didn't make last month? I don't know. But that's just a question that I have. I mean, I would think that the council would want to start looking at some sort of a development fee to generate some money.
We've discussed impact fees and stuff, nothing's been done.
No, I know it, and so I'm just bringing that up again.
That's my point.
That kind of fits in with Maria talking about old business. I mean, you know, let's not let this stuff fall by the wayside, because we all know where we're at, you know?
Other public comment on resolution 566-2022. The resolution of the Ennis Town Commission, State of Montana, stating the intent to place on the May 2022 mail ballot an initiative requesting an additional mill levy by residents of the town of Ennis for law enforcement services and staffing. Whereas the Ennis Police Department has seen a significant increase in demand for services in the past 7 years, and whereas the Ennis Police Department has a need for an additional full-time officer, and whereas the town commission has determined that to provide the funding for the police department for a second full-time officer, the residents of the town will be asked to vote for an additional $50,000, being approximately 14.5 mills annually. Whereas the language on the ballot shall read, mill levy to fund additional, quote, second officer of the Ennis Police Department. The town of Ennis shall be authorized to levy $50,000, being approximately 14.5 mills recurring annually for the exclusive purpose of funding the Ennis Police Department. If adopted, the fund shall be only for the purpose of retaining employment, salary, benefits, equipment, training of an additional second officer of the Ennis Police Department. If adopted, the town of Ennis shall not reduce or offset the Ennis Police Department budget in any manner to be less than the Ennis Police Department budget for fiscal year 2020-2021. The fiscal impact on a home having a market value of $100,000 is estimated to be $19.53 each year of the levy, and $39.06 on a home having a market value of $200,000. Now, therefore, be it resolved and hereby ordered by the Commission of the Town of Ennis, State of Montana, that allow the Ennis Police Department to increase services now offered and an additional law enforcement hours with public safety. It is the intent of the Ennis Town Commission to place on the ballot of the May 2020 election for the Town of Ennis an initiative asking for additional $50,000, being approximately 14.5 mills annually, for the additional full-time police officer.
Did it not read taxable value rather than market value?
That's what we were just asking.
Yeah.
Then it should be assessed value.
That's 2020 or 2022?
It says 2020, 2021, because this year the budget got all screwed up with the COVID money that we used from ARPA. So we're going back a year, so I don't have to.
So it's supposed to say 2022, right?
No, that year is correct, Randy. In order, because this year the budget got screwed up because we used ARPA funds to fund Matt's position.
Yeah.
So instead of having to rewrite everything and try to figure it out, I just went back a year and used that budget.
We're putting it on the ballot for May 2022.
Yes.
Okay,
Do we need to make a correction on this then?
that's what I'm asking. That's my next one. Assessed value.
The only correction needs to be on the market value, needs to get changed by assessed, to assessed in the language portion of it.
We make a motion and then discuss.
Nope. You start with public comment, and then it goes to commission. All right, public comment.
John, do you think 50,000's enough? I mean, what was Ashlyn? She was like 45.
So
for
in my
part-time.
council packet, I included the full budget and everything, yes, that's
Okay.
enough. And the reason being is we already fund a half-time officer as part of the budget.
Okay.
So this is just making the difference between that the part-time person and the full-time person.
Okay.
So yes, it is enough.
Okay.
Public comment? Anybody online? Lisa? Nope.
Nope. I guess I do have one comment, just in the language. Would it be appropriate to say to mirror the top where it says, at the top it says mill levy, but an additional mill levy by residents of the town of Ennis for law enforcement services and staffing. And then to put that down in the language where it says 4.5 mils recurring annually for the exclusive purpose of funding, you could say for law enforcement service and staffing instead of saying Ennis Police Department. That way it will cover law enforcement services. That way I know it says this $50,000 is for the second officer, but if there is a time, in the budget where the town of Ennis contracts, like the sheriff's office when they do special events or something like that, if that money can be utilized for those special events or whatever, if there's any other budgetary things in the future.
I already have a budget line item for the sheriff's department if we do contract with them for special events. That's already planned into the budget because we do have in the sheriff's department, we have a set amount. It's based on a 5-year, five-year deputy salary is what we have to pay to have them come into town and do anything. So that's already in there. The city attorney that did this language very specifically, so I would say leave the language the way it is, based on Jim writing this for us.
Any other public comment? Closing public comment.
I move to approve resolution 5662022, a resolution of the Ennis Town Commission, State of Montana, stated the intent to place on the May 2022 mail ballot, an initiative requesting an additional mill levy by residents of the town of Ennis for law enforcement services and staffing.
Second.
Discussion.
I can change that language. Change that because actually in the language it should be assessed value and not market
That's what
value.
I was like, we should have done that in the very first motion, shouldn't we have? Could we have done that in the first motion?
My motion? And
No,
Shane?
no, because it's already on the floor. So now we have to,
A motion to amend the motion.
yeah. But John seconded it too quickly. Click. So I'm gonna make a motion to change the language to assessed value. Yeah, I'm gonna make an amendment to the motion to change the language to assessed value.
Second.
Aye.
All right, any discussion on the language change? The vote on the, yeah, the amendment.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Now back to original.
Oh, yeah.
Motion.
One thing I have to say is that I think this is pretty good. I like the fact that it's on the ballot. If it wasn't on the ballot, I might have issues and say that I would want to wait until May to find out how Matt or any new officer was doing before we went forward with it, but because you guys have to vote on it, and I don't have to, I'm in favor of it.
This is like ongoing every year.
Yes.
Once we do
Recurring
this.
annually.
And I was hoping like this year we would need it, but after that, maybe the marijuana tax or something else would cover this. So that's.
So, no, this is recurring annually to cover that second officer, so that's the way it was written, so no offense, I wasn't planning on you guys counting on any other money coming in. The former commission and some of you put it on me to make sure that I got the position funded, so this is part one of that. Part two, will be applying for grants if for some reason this falls through.
Any other discussion from council?
On your budget, there's no, your insurance, but nobody's insurance is on their budget, right? That's general
That's
fund.
a different fund.
Yeah, that's a different fund, correct.
Motion to approve of resolution 566.
No, we just have to vote.
Oh, we just have to vote, okay.
Because we're on the main.
Okay, got it.
This year, May.
So then, whose turn is it to vote? Aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. I'm already lost.
Ordinance 145.
Starting with public comment. Even though we've had public hearing, and then having it again on the agenda.
Are we voting on it now? Or-
This is just discussion.
Okay, got it.
I'm confused. Earlier was public hearing. Did we read it last meeting?
So you got.
It was your first reading.
Okay.
So then we have another public hearing and then a vote.
Correct.
Got it. We're all good.
Right, so council discussion for.
Ginger, didn't order ordinance? I'm confused on where all this came from. Right? John didn't have anything to enforce.
No,
So
we
we
did not bring this one up at all.
It was
This was
brought
brought
up
by a
because
previous commissioner.
I believe Lisa had a neighbor
Oh, I thought it
that
was John.
questioned
That's for-
music and
I'm
he
confused.
said there's nothing for him to enforce or something along those lines.
And then we went to Star Trek. That's where.
That's how it got.
I thought it was John that needed it.
Motion. Sorry.
She made a complaint. She wouldn't sign the complaint. Any accusation, whether it's dog barking or anything,
You have to sign it.
you have to sign a complaint before John can act. He can't just go on verbal things.
Nope.
Hearing correctly,
I'm
it was
sorry,
like
we're
that.
gonna.
Oh, no, I was just clarifying though, I thought she had like an outdoor movie event, just to clarify, and that a neighbor called, just to clarify what complaint, and I think it's irrelevant, but just for record. If that's what I remember hearing correctly.
The whole thing comes down.
No noise complaints.
Okay.
Since 2013 through dispatch.
Okay.
I can go back to 2013, we've had no noise complaints whatsoever. Come through dispatch or be dispatched out.
I was wrong.
It was irrelevant, I just wanted to clarify.
Other commission discussion?
I'm in agreement with Brittany, you talked about, like, it's just kind of a given that we tolerate, if you will, the football games, and the the dates that it has here, I'm pretty sure we have football games all the way into December. I don't think, I mean, unless we just give the high school permission to. Yeah, I guess. I don't. Yeah, I was under the impression too that I thought we needed this, that John Murray needed.
I feel bad. I thought it was wrong.
There is one clerical, like, in part 6, under section C, deficit in vehicle or load. I do believe the language should be changed. Operating any truck, trailer, automobile, motorcycle, or vehicle so out of repair or so leaded, shouldn't that be loaded?
Where are you reading?
Number 6.
Number 6C.
6C. Defect in vehicle or load. Would that say loaded
Yep,
or
it should.
weighted? That's my grammatical one. Some things that I found. So like you said, the football game, right? And we have the parade.
Homecoming parade's the other one. 4th of July, they come in and get permission to do it, so that wouldn't be a big deal with 4th of July.
But the rodeo.
Rodeo's out of city.
Is it?
I can't enforce it if it's coming from outside of city limits.
Okay, that makes sense. So sound amplifying equipment, that would impact the long range. Loading, unloading, or opening containers.
Please remember to read like it in its entire context,
Okay.
though. In such a manner as to disturb the comfort or response of any normally sensitive or reasonable person. So we can pick each word, but it has to be in context of where it's at. And we haven't had any complaints, and that's great. And we have an old one that is non-functional, so
It's completely unenforceable.
It is.
needs to be repealed. I don't know.
Randy, the way I take so in my opinion, the way I take the container one is like a shipping yard or something like that, where they're slamming containers around, they're opening containers or slamming doors. We don't have anything like.
What examples that I have was like, the grocery store, Park City, and D&D all get their shipments in between 2 and 4 in the morning. You're right next to, well, D&D is technically outside of city limits, but the store isn't, and neither is Park City. And you're next.
Never received complaints.
Never received a complaint. But my only thing with this is, I do believe that this creates more problems and not less. I think it opens up a slippery slope for people to complain about their neighbors. I think it creates more work for you.
Potentially. And in all honesty, my comment usually to the people when they call and want to complain about their neighbors that put one foot on their sidewalk or that stepped over, my comment to them is, do you want to send the guy with the badge and the gun over there? And in which case, you're never going to get along with your neighbor. Would you like to go over there and talk to your neighbor and see how that works?
That's what I think.
Usually they choose the latter, but, it's totally up to them. But, I mean, that's literally what I say to them.
Oh, I totally understand.
And usually they choose to go speak.
I think that's why I'm not really in favor of this, is because I think people should be forced to go handle their own neighbors, because I can tell you, you're gonna get hundreds, dozens of dog complaints.
Oh,
It's gonna
dogs
happen.
are a totally separate ordinance. Dogs fall under this.
Okay.
Dogs are a totally separate ordinance.
And we already have a noise ordinance.
I know.
And that,
This is the least enforceable, the other one,
The other one is 100% unenforceable.
oh.
But
This
it
is
didn't-
kinda up to John if you enforce something or not. The other one is-
It's always officer discretion whether or not we,
Yeah.
whether or not we write a ticket, whether we not use education. Our job is compliance, it is not writing tickets. So how we gain that compliance is totally our discretion.
any other discussion from the commission?
Are we having to deal as a town with people that are not normally sensitive? Are we getting people that are different in town? I mean, that's.
We're
So
getting a lot of people moving.
from an enforcement action, if you just had a dispute with your neighbor and you keep calling and complaining, my report would read that you would not be normally, that you would not fall under normally sensitive because you have an ongoing neighbor dispute. Okay, so that's why that's written that way, is so that I have discretion as to determine that, hey, you've got a problem with your neighbor, so this isn't a valid complaint.
Does it not make sense to everybody to maybe exclude the homecoming parade, exclude
School events or something.
school events?
Town events or something.
What else would we exclude?
I think you just exclude everything and leave it alone.
It says in the very beginning, prevention of raucous, disturbing, loud or harsh noise.
Complain about
Which
homecoming.
unreasonably disturbs, injures, blah, blah, blah. The football game doesn't do any of that.
No, neither
The
does
homecoming
homecoming.
parade doesn't do any of that.
And it's during the middle of the day. What's the
They're
big
not,
complaint?
it doesn't apply to those things that are normal functions of our community.
This is having something there in case it is needed. We keep talking about growth, and we'd love to say that we're gonna stay quiet and small, that we've always been a retirement one, and maybe we will. And maybe we won't. And then the next person 4 years from now, this was old business that I put on there because it was old business, either one way or another. And now we're to, that was during the hearing, and now we're
I was
to.
gonna ask you just to look at number 9, if you give me language.
No, this is just
Discussion.
discussion.
It's just a discussion.
There's one more?
Yes,
We're gonna
we'll
vote.
have one more hearing and then vote on it. It's not the last.
So
your time
to make
changes
you want.
Because next time it's
Oh, yeah.
final and it's voted, so you can't make changes.
So do we make a motion to take that out?
Let me throw this out here, okay, I'm not a lawyer, but, dealing with people in this town, what happens if somebody moves in next to one of the bars, and they all of a sudden just, decide that they don't like the noise? By this ordinance, do they fit into, do they have a valid complaint by this ordinance as written right now?
Well, that's why we were talking the time frame.
But it's not in there, so right now, looking at it, Do they have a valid complaint?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes, they do. So therefore, if they give me a complaint, I have to do something about it, right? So maybe we need to make sure that something on that.
The outdoor events on 7E
Right,
has timeframes.
but indoor events, if you look at.
But what if somebody's walking by the branch and they open up the door and they're living across the street and they don't like it when the door is open in the summer?
The live music is inside except for the.
Gravel bar outside, and that has that timeframe. That's why Scott wasn't upset, because he's like, I'm done with
Right,
it.
but what I'm saying is inside the branch being one of the big ones, there's apartments right across the street.
Oh, they're gonna be building
The
overnight.
development in.
Yeah,
Right.
so
Primary.
you need to make sure if that's what you want, that you get that cleaned up now. Otherwise, it's gonna be a big headache for myself and Mr. Greenbaum.
For appropriate hours, 7 and 10, 7 to 10.
Times were just put in the section 6.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, can we put times at the beginning of section 6?
Talk to Jim.
Jim.
All I'm playing is I have to agree with you guys, I can't write ordinances.
Jim, are you
Oh, there he is.
Are you guys asking me a question? I'm finding it very difficult to hear what's going on down there.
We're running into, we have very clear on outdoor events, and there's some concern on indoor activities, like at some of the bars downtown.
I just turned the mic up.
All right, well, I think you just have to look at section 6 and see what is unlawful.
You have,
We can just ask him to add times in those and it would read the same as 7, essentially. Or if you do, I don't know, I'm not telling you what you want.
That's what I was
So
saying.
Jim, the concern is, I would say the Long Branch bar being the primary one, and we have a new development being constructed right now out the back door of the establishment. And, basically whenever that back door gets opened up and there's loud music, being broadcast, if that could potentially facilitate a violation of section, number 6, section A. Does that make sense?
Yes, and thank you, Corey. I heard that loud and clear. So if we just read that through together, we would see that if it's such a manner as to disturb the quiet, comfort, or repose of any normally sensitive and reasonable person. And again, that is then subject to, the discretion of the officer. If they open up the door and it's so loud that it's waking up people in the neighborhood, or, then yeah, maybe they need to lower that music. I don't know. Maybe they need to, instead of having, a door that opens up straight out to the public, maybe have a breezeway so you're not allowing that music to come out. I mean, there are ways of dealing with this. But again, even if a complaint is made and Officer Moore or his partner goes out there and writes a complaint and issues a ticket, it then has to come before me. And I have to then decide if I could prove that beyond a reasonable doubt as a violation of this. So I think that the way this is drafted, it allows enough flexibility that once people understand and know, they'll do what's right, to comply. And if not, if it's so loud that you open up the door, I mean, if it's so loud that you open up a door to a bar and grill and it's disturbing people, where are they? You know, that they're being disturbed. They're no longer in the commercial district, or are they how many yards away? I mean, that's got to be seriously loud, right? I mean, maybe that's a health risk to the people inside that facility. But I think when we realize that there are sufficient checks and balances, and when we look at the language here of a reasonable person, right? We're not talking about like the person who's like so sensitive, I can't stand any music. That's not a reasonable person. I don't see any real problems with implementing this sort of ordinance, if that answers your question.
So, Jim, the big question that we were talking about before was literally there's 5 mini apartments, mini houses that went up literally right behind the Long Branch in town right there. So the question is, it's probably 25 feet away from their back door, and in summer the windows might be open on the apartment, and it may not be unreasonably loud, but those people who are guests here might be calling and complaining constantly. So we were just looking for a time frame to put in there for the bars to maybe allow for basically to quell it before it becomes a problem.
So I thought there were some time limitations in here for outdoor events, and then if that doesn't apply, then maybe we need to add something in there. I mean, I would be.
Section 7 has timeframes for loading, unloading, construction projects, but there's nothing that would apply to bars downtown or anything like that for music.
Right. So maybe under section 7E, we would put that for outdoor and indoor events. I mean, if an indoor event is going to be so loud that it disturbs people that, are trying to sleep across the way, then yeah, maybe we have to deal with that as well.
Okay, that would be an easy fix then.
That's the easiest fix.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
And that makes sense because it says public dances and all that kind of stuff. Instead of amplifying machines.
So what do we want to?
Change E to outdoor events / indoor events.
Right,
And
but
leaves.
the gravel bar moves their outdoor events indoor and continues potentially after that.
Yeah,
But if
all the
nobody
bars are gonna
complains.
go.
If nobody complains, then it doesn't.
Even at the Long Branch and the Dollar, when you go outside and like when I used to take out trash and stuff, you don't hear the music that's in the front that bad, out the back. I don't think it's gonna be a huge issue.
Worst case, can they just lock their back door? Or do they have to?
If you just went to them and said, it's a little noisy, they'll cooperate.
Yeah.
We're blowing this here way out of.
Yeah, we're talking way too long. So we do we move to change the language, make a motion to change the language?
What
So we
I
wanna
think
put
we
it-
could do is you could just table the ordinance as it is right now. You don't have to vote to approve it. I mean, it's actually, you cannot vote to approve it because it's on for discussion only, I believe. And so what we could do is just give you a redraft on that provision there, E, outdoor events, or add another provision in there for indoor events.
And then change our loaded and.
Number 9.
I can send him
The-
That's it. Jim, I'll send you the notes that I have for changes and such, so that it can be redrafted.
So we don't have to make a motion or anything, change the language, it'll just be done.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Commission, are we done with that one? Okay. Moving on to discussion on 146, the setback chart. To repeal the old chart and replace it with the new.
Alex's parting words were to adopt this To me.
I do believe in here it did say it was lowering the height requirement by 5 feet, was it not?
And then your setbacks by 5 feet in some.
Yeah, and then the front yardage for town density by 10 feet. That's the largest change. Is it went from 25 feet to 15 feet.
Any other discussion on that?
This has been talked about so long.
All right. Unless there's some typos as we're fine tuning.
Fine tuning. I was just trying to clarify the height thingy because Trevor had mentioned it. Okay.
To any other comments over there? Don't have any corrections to that. The next portion is council chair nomination discussion. So this is in the event that I am not here to perform my duties for some reason. The chair will choose, or the commission will choose a chair that will act so that we know ahead of time, everyone. And I left it as discussion for tonight, not a final vote, so that you really decide if you want to, if somebody, as the group nominates, if you really want that, and then review the charter for what that entails for this position. Because there's different things between those, and then it also give you that authority to sign should I be out for surgery or whatever your payroll needs done. Those kind of documents. If you have to declare emergency while I'm in surgery or something like that, that gives you the official authority to do so. So now I will kind of open the floor for you guys to discuss amongst yourselves who thinks that might want to have that fun.
I nominate Christy Ransom.
Third. Discussion, guys.
I'll support that.
And then, of course, with that, somebody has to accept it, so that seems to be the.
That'll be where Chrissy has to handle.
What were you saying about the charter?
Oh, the duties.
For the duty of the charter, and mayoral duties are different than commission. Kind of like we talked about our legs the other day in training. I'm a different leg, I have different rules. Same rules, different obligations. So knowing what they are so that you can actually you can fulfill those. Not just running meetings, but the other stuff that you can and cannot do.
I think it'd be a good idea to have a template.
Order. And then a lot of. Thank you, Dan, for all the highlights. Those were helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have this.
Also, yeah, like having the old business on there as well.
All right, any other discussion of your council chair nomination? Seems like you're nominated. Okay with that. You're okay with
next
that?
month's agenda?
Yes, can you put that a vote for the official chair? For the commission? And that gives you a month to review whether you really officially want to say yes or no.
I'll wait for a declaration of emergency. Thanks, makes fun of them.
All right. So as Mr. Bancroft has vacated the library board, it is my next job to appoint someone to that board.
Didn't want to do it, but didn't have much choice.
I would be willing to do it.
I was thinking Nikki, or Nikki or Randy, because they're gonna have 4 years.
That's okay. Good.
That was kind of my thoughts on it.
Sure.
Corey's already on the tree board.
Yeah, he's on the tree board trying to like divvy things up so that nobody's overwhelmed. So if, Nikki, you were the one that I was thinking of as well, so if you would like to, are you willing to accept that position? Sure. All right, then I'd like to officially appoint Nikki Jenkins for the library board.
Jared.
Department reports. Karen, you want to do us off on library reports?
Sure. So I actually don't have a lot to report this month. So for the monthly use will be on top. So if you ever have any questions, I try to do that mostly as an average, some are actuals. December was pretty quiet. We are the all program and adding some more sections. And then on the back of the first page are just some annual statistics, as well as our library journal statistics. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Also attached, this is an update to every 3 years as a board, so this is an update.
You have in there, Chris is continuing her work to add an entrepreneurial health component.
Yeah, so she's working with the University of Montana Spark program, entrepreneurial support. She's working with the Headwaters, RCD, and the Montana State. Both mostly online and just with people that have an idea center and how to help them with those initial steps.
They just come to the library and.
Right, so part of that, yeah, so it's all still information, but there will be, part of it will be, and actually she might come talk to you as a business owner for, yeah, did she already? Okay. So part of that will be on the website, at the help center on the website. And then also will be in person, with some tech support and also some physical resources. But mostly it will be a place to direct you to the things you need. Get a lot of people that come in for that kind of help. So we're just trying to make sure we have the proper resources.
Any other questions for Karen? Thanks. No.
You all have a copy of my written report. Any questions? What's that?
Did you hear from that one, Mr. Crane?
Actually, they send bi-weekly reports. Every 2 weeks I get a progress report on him.
Awesome.
So he's out there Monday. So the check-in's the first part of the day. The second half is they start with class at 1 o'clock, and he said that his brain already heard. They're just pouring all in, and they do. They just keep dumping it in, and dumping it in, and dumping it in. So he sounds like he's having a good time though. I was texting with him earlier today. So.
any kind of break in between?
So it's 3 months.
Do they come home every 4 weeks for?
He's allowed to come home on weekends. So he has to live up there during the days, build girls school up there off of Sierra Road. So he's there for Monday through Friday. They have class from 8 until 5 with an hour lunch break. And then he's also signed up for some night training too, that he has to attend. But yeah, he's up there. He belongs to them for. Yes, he gets to come home on weekends.
Tell them good luck. Have fun. Eat the food.
You meet a lot of good people up there, and you meet a lot of contacts that you hang on to. I still, I'm in contact with a lot of people I went to the academy with, so it's a very good thing.
Anything else for John? Any other questions for him? All good? Oh. Eric, you want to do public works?
Hello?
Can you
hear me?
I can hear you.
All right.
It's been a busy bit for you.
The audio out here is really bad, so anyways, I don't have much else to add to this report, but I think maybe we should revisit our emergency response plan for the flooding that's going on and maybe get this all updated. And I've kind of been working on it a little bit, but I really think this needs to be touched at and looked at pretty closely from what's been going on lately.
I think Colette was going to address that at the work session. But I'll make
Okay,
sure that
yeah, great, that would be awesome.
Anything else other than you've been busy?
No, I don't.
Any questions for Eric?
You have in here that people have been running their sump pumps in their house, and that's really increasing the flow significantly to the lagoon. Or we have a game plan for that?
It has a lot, and I sympathize with them, but it's put our numbers. We went from 85 gallons a minute to 170 something in these last few days. It's starting to go down now, but just to reiterate, that's the sump pumps are not sewer. That's, and it really could actually damage our lagoon biology and all that with all this going in there.
So they have sump pumps running in their basements or something?
Yeah, so the sump pump runs and it dumps fresh water into the lagoon instead of sewage.
Yeah. It's the same, kind of like the same thing we face in June, July typically, where we're opening up a lot of buildings and a lot of extra water, just straight water is running in, so it messes with the 28-day cycle of the bacteria.
Right.
And then it changes our numbers that we have to turn in when we don't pass.
And what we got this last week and a half, well, it'll show up next month on our results. It will make an effect. I was told we do have an ordinance about sump pumps in the sewer. Didn't really have time to look, but it can be a problem. I just wanted that to be put out there for the town to try to not do that.
Do you have any ideas how we can get the word out? I honestly, the only thing I can think of is
maybe just maybe just something attached to the water bill. This is gonna go on for all winter. It looks like to me. Who knows? I'm guessing. So maybe just put something in their water bill to remind people.
on our Facebook too. There's only so many work letters you can get on the water bill message.
Because it's so small.
Yeah, it's like,
You can't attach anything, 'cause it's not an envelope.
Oh, we know what the theme of this month will be.
Something's having a seizure. All right, Eric, anything else from you? Or you're good?
Or the town website, Duke, you put that on there. Anything would help. All right. This went well.
All right, thank you, Eric.
Zoning, you're up.
I gave you all a copy of my zoning report. I was out for a couple weeks. So I just basically listed our active projects. I can tell you we've had 6 applications go out just this week, not on this list. So I was hoping that it would slow down until spring, but it's not looking like that's gonna happen.
No signs or fences, no easy stuff. The street bond stuff, does that always happen in January? The return of street bonds?
Actually, Ginger's already done them.
I saw a bunch of the claims, that's why I'm just.
Yeah, before Kelly left, he wanted to clean. Did gave us a list of the street bonds he had.
Yeah.
We drove around and that's all completed. Eric and I are, working. Probably, just gonna include writing a ticket, they can come to court and there can be restitution.
Yeah.
So it's. If you have any questions.
I wanted to say, because we're getting a lot of feedback.
Hello? Left and forgot to hang up.
So if we're doing it that way, I guess my question is, do we need to address, there was talk in old minutes, since I was reviewing some of those, the street bond, there was a street bond ordinance that was suggested.
Paperwork, or that we were like, kind of,
The idea of looking
There
at
isn't
something
an
like
actual
that.
street bond or.
right, it was the permit.
We have an ordinance on the books that, they have to have a permit prior to digging, damaging, treating any work in the public right of way. So that an encroachment permit, we specify that they have to repair the street to original, is one of the conditions of that encroachment permit. They have to, return the street to the original or better than condition, as per the public works director. If they fail to do that, then that gives me to write them a ticket, bring them to court, let the judge order restitution on it.
I called, when I, was not here. And don't really have the problems with it because they don't have any paved roads. And then the bigger ones, of course, it's not a problem because their connections are all. So there was quite a variety, and it doesn't seem like, in my opinion, and of course, it doesn't seem like trying to raise a bonded amount will actually solve anything.
Mhm.
So anyway, this seems like kind of good.
You know, it's gonna depend on, so it's a paved street, is there curbing there, is there no curbing there? You know, what?
There's a lot of variables.
Exactly, there's so many different variables in there. We came up with, let's just enforce the ordinances that are on the books already.
We'll have something for you to look at. All right, awesome. Self a written one. In addition, there will be more probably next month. I'll have more information on it. With the master plan, I'm contacting Headwaters. There seems to be some lag time going in getting things done. We're gonna call and check in with them and see where we're at. Renewal does those. I believe it's been done, but I'm gonna get an update from Headwaters. They are administering the grant monies for the master plan. So anyway, like I said, we're just seeing some timing discrepancies on some stuff, so. In that were questioned. One of them was a Great West in there. As it just came through as a general services. So I'm checking with Great West to get specifics on that bill.
Because it just looks like task 6, and you're like, what is task 6 for 2 engineers? We're just trying to get clarification on what that was.
Where it goes to.
Yeah.
And I'm currently working on property insurance renewal for the year. Karen, are you in tomorrow? I will call and talk to you, but I am upping, we need to up our buildings for what it takes now to replace what it would be like for this building or the library. We haven't got the insurance to cover it. We're gonna need to be doing some increase. So Brittany's been helping me kind of with that. We're kind of going off of what it was as square footage. We got good square footage on all of our buildings and stuff, so we're working on that. And that will be done by month end.
And I guess with that, like she was explaining, that we're breaking it up. It's not just square footage, it's what that square footage is designated to, because the building cost part for the garage is going to be different than the finish work for interior meeting rooms and stuff like that, so.
The clause replacement. Where you will still be covered for the cost of the replacement.
And we do have that.
It is pretty fancy back there. You can almost see out your window.
Treasure Cash 2021 is done, right?
Yes.
Reconciliation, but the audit's not till March, you said it got pushed off?
Right.
What about the contract for that? Was that up last year or is that up this year? Yeah, that's the other thing. I'm waiting for the auditors to get me back on some questions that I posed to them. And it's been like 5 days, I think, and I haven't gotten an answer, so tomorrow I'll be back on the phone again.
Hey, is there anything good for us?
Did ACH this week, or today actually, and we're up 11 people in the last month setting up auto pay. That's always exciting. Pretty much every new account, people set up email billing at least, so that's, yeah, saving postage and time and paper and all that. The been slowly working on training me on certain things within accounting, so that's been good. I'm looking into some different softwares with Black Mountain that they integrate for online payment systems. So it'd be similar to other utilities where you say would go to the town of Ennis website and you could log into your utility account. You'd be able to see usage, see your bill, pay it on there. Works with one company in particular that seems to have a great system. I did a demo on that, and I actually get multiple calls every month of people asking, pay my bill online or see my bill online. So I think that's something that I'll request to be in the budget for this next year. It was actually not as expensive as I thought it would be, so that was always a good surprise to see that. Yeah. Working on automation and ease on the utility billing side to free up time there.
Commission. No, I'd start with one teacher's like, wait, no, you first. Start with you, Corey. Okay.
Sure. So old business, it says master plan presentation, final draft. Freeman stated that he was gonna do a presentation in February to the Madison County Planning Board. Is that kind of where we're at? They're gonna have to receive a presentation and then they will make recommendations on it to us, or?
Yes, yes, and they didn't have a January meeting, that's why it's February.
Okay.
They're still trying to hire planners and stuff. I don't know if they did. Did they hire a planner yet?
No, but I think they didn't have a decent.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we knew we were going to be February.
A training class with Dan Clark. That was the second one that I've attended. One thing he said at the first training session that I thought was pretty cool about how government works, and he's like, government only works, it assumes that all individuals on a board or who are members of this government are well-intentioned individuals, and I thought that was first presentation over in Alder. So other than that, he of Salt Lake that we were at the last. What else? I just wanted to bring up adult education sign up for spring semester. There's a lot of really cool classes that the high school is offering. So if you haven't checked that out. I guess regarding the like getting the word out, like pumps or just general messaging to people of the city. Of the building, I know it's against our ordinance, but I think, having a digital sign out there just makes all the sense in the world. It truly does. Just getting the word out to people. It's one of the most obvious forms of communication. Everybody drives past this building. And I guess lastly, I had just heard about this through the grapevine that we had another accident in town. Police called the emergency meeting at their store on Tuesday. But takeaway from that was they were hoping people would sign a petition, kind of trying to move forward with MDOT. Did do 2 phone calls last time. Local office, and I called the Bozeman office. Multiple phone calls. Not for my business. If you give me a call, I'll get back to you, but I don't know. I'd say signing a petition sounds like a great idea. So.
You're planning on putting them at the library too?
And online. Right, John, what do you got?
Absolutely nothing.
Nikki, back to you. You went down and met with Robin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of those, I guess, we should say that we can't all be in a meeting unless, like, everybody knows that we're in a meeting too. Like, that's one of the rules, right?
Right, so a couple of us could attend. They're just super frustrated, and I totally understand where they're coming from. And, I mean, there's not even a curve sign or reflective, anything on the curve. So any help that we could be, I think we should.
The light issue.
Yeah.
I brought it up at the end of the meeting last month with Blake. If you do anything and want to do anything, then let's get in motion to do more streetlights at that end of town.
And John Heckler was there too. He said that at the Easter, they were able to get a grant from Northwest Energy to get posts or lights in their parking lot. So I think he was gonna look into that and see if they're still available for the grant. And Eric was also gonna check and see if there were power. He thought there were some kind of power out by the bridge that were maybe the towns, but I don't know what he's heard.
Like power outlets?
Power poles, like,
Okay.
You have to have power on your light.
Yeah.
That's why the other side
No,
of
I've
the bridge,
been-
we have to annex the other side.
They made a really good point too, like I never thought about it, but like coming in from the airport, you know, it's all black, but you see the Nearly You and his portion lit up. So you really think that that could be town on the left side and you're just going straight. So without any curve warnings, it would totally make sense that that's why they're not slowing down, because there's.
All right, but about, that I didn't even think about not being able to run power over there because it's not town. Has anyone explored like a solar option, like a solar powered sort of, kind of thing that we could even put on
Virginia
there?
City got a grant to do solar, I think, for their streetlights, so that is something we could look into. We had talked last year at one point about annexing in that side of the bridge.
Yeah.
Because one's a conservation district and then one's the campground. Even on the side, this side, on that side where the Magic Mirror and stuff is, even that land, if we put lights somewhere on that land too, there's just, it's really dark over there.
Does the town own like the little plot where the actual cowboy and horse sign is? It
No,
says Town of Ennis?
That's.
So that sign is on,
It's
that's a
over there.
DOT sign. Okay, so we'd have to ask them to put a light on that too.
Yeah.
Or reflector, okay.
But anything that we could put on city, I think we should do as soon as we can, because at least it's doing something instead of ignoring her for 2 years, 3 years.
Even Lions Club, maybe we could do something.
Lions Club looks like a feed yard to me. When you come in from that end, it looks like a feed yard. There's like one light, it looks like a feed yard. It doesn't look like town.
Yeah.
So I think as many lights as we could. Kelly told me there was money there to do it. So I don't even know how much grant money we need, but it's just something we should look at the sooner. We should address the situation if we can address the situation. We can't do rumble strips, but I think lights will help.
It'd be nice if they coming into town. 55, 45, 35, but it's 35 on this side of the bridge.
It should go
When
back.
you cross the bridge, then it, and halfway past it, if you get 25, there should be another sign back there saying 25 ahead.
That's DOT though, that's not us, that's.
I realize that, the state's been asked about it, but.
I
And
think
will
we
make
do what
some
we can do.
Calls it and do some looking into that as well.
They're solar, those are solar blinking.
But they have to be
That's what I was
approved to
talking
put there,
Yeah.
which is the hard part with DOTs. From what I've heard, it's very hard to do.
But I want to look at historically what's changed, because I don't think that, I mean, we just magically got a billion bad drivers. There's something that has changed historically from where we were to where we are now. And I would have to say, from my background, that would be the bridge itself.
When did they change that bridge?
2000.
And
20
if you
years.
remember, the old bridge had a tall structure to it. And it was, so it appeared narrower. So as you approached that, you naturally slowed down because you felt like you were going to a smaller space. That's how people work. And that it is now an open view. You don't have that visual cue that slows you down. So still DOT's section there, and we'll have to address what we can do in town. But I don't know that the lights will or will not fix that, but it's worth a
I
shot.
like the entryway, like the whole, like the entryway idea, I just don't know where we come up with the money for it. Right?
Yeah.
This is also super awkward on this subject right now, but, so we're planning on putting, the mill levy on a ballot in 2022. Are we able to put the recreational tax on that same ballot, or is that different?
Good question. You'll have to ask. I don't know. the answer. I said November to Dan, I didn't even think about. Did he say that or me? I said November ballot. I don't know if he ever did.
You did, yeah, you did, and that's what I'm thinking, oh shit, that's a long time to wait, but.
That's what I was thinking. We should have been on last November's ballot, and that's the towns that are getting it. We're on last, they have to approve it.
But if we
And it doesn't go into effect until
90 days after that.
90 days after.
Right, and the revenue, like I said, is based off of the population, so I mean, Ennis would get a good chunk, I would think, of the county revenue.
Well, if we did the 3% on the two that are in town, we would get the 3% off.
Oh, you're talking about the,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
And I don't know how much that would change their sales. And I don't know how much we care.
Like that much.
I don't know. It doesn't change their sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, they either absorb it or they do.
I'm good, I'm done. We discussed, yeah, I was gonna bring up Robin, like the lights, and that's all I got in training.
Yeah, I went to training too.
Sorry, this might be, could we put like reflective curved thing or like on the curve on the bridge or something?
The
Like,
tape,
yeah, can we just
DOT,
do that?
DOT, they will take it off unless you are approved.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm thinking, like, why not try
It's
something?
not as big as concrete barriers.
I'm sure
And
there's.
the thing that we need to remember is that you get a lot more help with honey than vinegar. So the more that we're pushing that in a non-workable manner, instead of maybe inviting them to the table for stakeholders, this has become a problem. I know Robin has a big collection of photos and this, that, and the other, and so does the nearly new. So,
She did hit his one year.
I guess.
Could we invite our local representative? We have one.
What are you actively doing to engage DOT?
But Blake did.
I should have mentioned, I forgot to mention that in my part, but I was at the meeting too, and I think that's what Willie would like, and nearly you now that, they've been directly affected, is the town to get involved. Because they're trying to work with DOT, and DOT's pushing them off. So I think, and what, I guess, a public comment or whatever, I would like to see the town push. They might
Well, it sounds
listen,
like
whether it's
Corey,
with honey or not, we need to. I
it
think
sounds
that's
like Corey reached out and they haven't been very responsive. I mean, could we get like Greenbaum or someone to like write a letter? I mean, what would you say the steps are? The
Or
town
lawyers.
council?
I don't know about
I
lawyer
wonder
letters.
too,
No.
just an observation from the discussion. Perhaps with the county getting involved with this as well and maybe giving some backing. Because typically, if you want a study done, isn't it the county that has
Well,
to?
if we want the study done, we have to pay for it. It's about $25,000 to pay for a traffic study.
Are there
So-
grant money available?
So if we get the county involved and the county asks for it, the county has to pay for it. They have to make a pocket. The county involved.
John Heckler did recommend that at the meeting. He recommended
We could get a free traffic study.
he recommended the petition to start gathering, and then present the petition to the county, which then the commissioners would vote on, with this petition, do we want to move forward with this? And he thought that it would probably all agree.
Wait, Charlotte has something to say.
No, but that's for their own project, because that section was slated in their grand scheme of projects to be redone. So this section's scheduled to be redone, so that's what the traffic is, that's their project. If we requested it, right in state law.
Asking the mayor to help.
Chain of command, we do
Yeah.
it to our local representative.
The new mayor would like to write a letter to DOT asking for help or sit down or something. I don't know if Blake did. There was a change in power and there was definitely better
Blake
communication.
actually dealt with Fogarty a lot, with him, and that's how we got a whole bunch of stuff. There's still culverts, but.
Is that why they haven't been done? Okay, I was like, we bought a backhoe for this whole. Okay.
I don't know the whole story behind it,
Okay.
but it's government politics. But we got a bunch of stuff approved and done, when Fogarty sat down with Blake, so, and initially he approved the culverts. I don't know exactly what the holdup is now, but it was something.
Stages, the community out there was really up in arms because they wanted to put an 80-mile-an-hour bridge like you got leaving Ennis. Very cooperative and very helpful between him and the county and
WTI study, did it say anything about that in town, the Western Transportation?
I don't think so.
Nothing on that end, okay.
Well, Heckler and I were going to sit down about the marijuana ordinance and taxation, and so let's make it a little.
But, and if you guys wanna know why the bridge is labeled the way it is, why there's no reflectors on the bridge, why it is, read the Uniform Traffic Code. That's what DOT goes off of, it's a state highway, they're required to. That specifies how far apart speed limit signs have to be, at what speed bridges have to be marked, at what curvature bridges have to be
curve doesn't justify a curve sign? That's.
It does not fit because of the speed.
What about reflective tape? Is that a no-no?
It doesn't fit the uniform traffic codes. You'd have to get a specific exemption to have that done.
But through communication, that could happen.
It could, but DOT would have to approve it, and generally, their fallback is uniform traffic code. And that's how I've gotten a few things taken care of, because they've thrown it in my face, and I've read it in another section, that says, no, it says we can do that. Speed limit signs on top of the digital sign. For the longest time, they would not let us put a speed limit sign on top of the speed zone sign, or on the radar sign. And I found in there another section where it said you can do it. So once I talked to Fogarty, we got that done. What do you know? We got speed limit signs out there now.
I remember that.
Yeah, you have to play their book against them, is what you have to do. The uniform traffic code is their Bible.
Yeah.
That's what they go by. It says, how reflective the signs have to be, what size they have to be. It's available publicly online, and that's where you're gonna find the information that you want.
Curve is and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that curve does not fit it. Fogarty and I have talked about it.
Even with the accidents in our,
Because of the speed.
It's also the speed of the road.
Okay.
So the speed of the road and the curvature of the road. So, because of the speed and the curvature, it doesn't fit. There's a formula actually in there that tells you it does not fit the requirement for taping, signage, or anything else. It's the same thing as when you go north, where it merges in front of the hospital. There's no merge sign over there. Well, the reason why is the 25-mile-an-hour zone. You're not required to have that on a merge zone in the 25-mile-an-hour zone. Amazing what you read when you do that. It's great bedtime reading, though, let me tell you.
All right, so Brandy, I guess we're on to you then.
No, you guys covered everything that I was gonna say. Like I said, I went to the training that we went to on Tuesday. The third one that I've been to. That's fun. Anything else?
What about Hannah?
Yeah, it's back to you.
I spoke with the fire chief a few days before officially taking office, as Madison Valley Rural Fire expressed some concern as to our maintenance of our hydrants, because they could not get a tap off, so.
Or lack thereof.
Or lack thereof. So Eric jumped right on it, and we dug for pretty much anything and everything we could find on maintenance records, and then they immediately went out and started numbering and breaking all the caps. We decided this time of year we're not going to be opening the water, as we don't know the status of everything, so. Bloody right now. So that was that was December 29th or 30th, if that was the call. And then before that, I met with, was it Dan? Okay. Bad with names. From Great West Engineering, and then established that we probably need a work session so we are all on the same page. And you'll see that on the agenda for the 24th.
Oh, I have two written down. Three?
Dan Sheldon said he couldn't make it.
Yeah, I haven't.
Okay. We just got that memo at 1 or something.
Okay.
And that is basically to create like our timeline for the year. What we need to have in place to start our water, sewer, street plan. And that's basically on grant cycles, and then what we can and cannot be eligible for based on our water rates, which led to the next conversation with Bobby from Rural Water. And we kind of went through our system to calculate where our rates should be based on the algorithm that they have on service sizes and a whole bunch of really cool formulas. So we're like, oh, what's a 1 inch? What's a 4 inch? What's a 3 inch? And so we're again going, oh, we need to revisit some maps. So it's a little bit of a rabbit hole currently. So there's that, and there are two numbers, and we'll have to, and you'll see at the work session if anybody wants to peek in, basically describing how we are going to determine water rates, or how we can go about doing that. that is best for the people of the town. And then, what else? And get my feet wet. It's amazing what everybody does around here. It's, for me, when I sit at my desk, I have my little bubble and it's great. And then somebody comes in and they interrupt me at my other job. And it's hard to get back in the groove. So it's really impressive to actually watch people at the desk very patiently explain anything from marijuana to, there's been some interesting calls. So, and then still be able to jump right back into what they're doing. And then me interrupting every 5 seconds, like, what's that? What's that? What's that? Do you have this? Do you know where can I find? And so I'm constantly distracting, but they still pull it back together. And then when I can't find something from somebody else, then you go find John, and he's got it in some file cabinet somewhere. So, and then if I don't have something there, Susie's got something. So collectively, it's amazing how you can work your way through all the different departments and eventually find what you're after. And yeah, I have to say props to boys, they've been busy. John taking some interviews for not me. I don't like to do these things, so thanks, John, for that. And Joe coming down, Joe Roll coming down. Sometime, if anybody hasn't met him, he really should. And I think he is at the fire department on next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. going to ICS. So if you don't know what that is on council, it's a kind of interesting structure of incident command system and how it works. And when it works well, we have exactly what happened when we had to close down the park, where John went, he knew where the little book was, knew that he was supposed to write the declaration of emergency for me, pretty much, and then comes and brings it so that we can go through the next phases, and we do that so that we can have funding for repairs, we can legally close our properties and everything else. And then John's been doing a great job of updating everybody as to the current status. Just remember that there's the park and then there's other structures that we're watching along with that and how that's affecting different maybe potential new sites and our lagoon and everything else. Everything close to the river is under great scrutiny right now. So that's kind of been my first 14 days or something like that. And a lot of reading the policy manuals. Eric, I need to finish up letters officially for him, and the policy manuals are missing their appendix, which is Appendix 4 that I found. That is the evaluation, but John gave me one, so I have to kind of look through that. And that's how I'm supposed to evaluate personnel, which I haven't found any old ones yet. So that's kind of where that's at. And making sure that everybody has a policy manual. So some groundwork to a baseline that we all agree on. Where have we been? That's what I got.
So we do Eric's job title changed and, right?
Mm-hmm. And his current job description, because I wanted to, you don't just hire somebody without reading through their job description from 1997.
Are those back from, are those still at MMA?
And so I will be
I think he
revisiting
only made
those.
one
They're
comment.
So is Eric the new public works director?
Not officially. He hasn't got to send anything yet. So he's been doing this out of his own good will of stress.
No, that's awesome. I actually forgot to bring that up earlier because I know DEQ came out and visited and they transferred like all sort of the stuff over to him.
Yeah.
But I didn't know like where we were at with actually hiring that. If he was just gonna move up into that position or be hired for it or how that kind of works.
And the state is doing some amazing things. They're creating an apprenticeship program for public works because they're noticing that we're like tanking on getting people in and trained and retained and everything else. So there's an apprentice program that's coming through, and they're working on a listserv like I've not found it for the mayors yet, but apparently there's one for us. And then the clerks have one too. So if we need help writing, drafting, other ideas, every little town can communicate. So I'm scheduled to be gone March 2nd through the 3rd. 2nd through 4th. for the executive session up in Shoto, Montana, in March. That ought to be fun.
It should be fun.
It'll be a little windy, a little cold, so that's on the convention hangout in Shoto. That's all I got. In March, yeah. Tropical Shoto in March. It's good vacation time.
The water and sewer guy, was that Joe Brummel?
No, Joe
DES.
is DES.
What is that?
Disaster Emergency Services.
Yeah. And he's
Yeah.
in Virginia City, right? Like his office is.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
And so there's DES 1 and DES 2. Where's and so yes, there's two. DES. That's all I got. All I got.
John, it's your turn.
John, it's your turn.
No, move to approve claims.
Oh, yeah.
I make a motion to approve claims.
Yeah.
Second.
Motion to approve claims by Brandy, seconded by Corey. All those in. Aye. Oh, wait, where was I? Oh, it would have been you, but.
Aye.
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 Move to adjourn.
Oh, second. Go to bed. Right, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
What?
I love the little spider. They've been staring at me for forever.
I've been watching that spider for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, so they, she's like, yeah, but she's also DS3, she covers.
I really didn't want to talk
Who they
that much.
were.
Yeah.
Joe doesn't ever leave.
We're very
Have telephone. They will be going back to, in-person meetings.
They'll be crawling away from us before we know it.
Yeah. And then maybe I can go for a car ride with you sometime.
Absolutely.
Check it out. Meet some people. Sound good?
All
right.
Yeah, so what we do is basically, they give a city a lot of help.
I'm sorry that we're going to miss.
Otherwise, they'll still be going.
Just excited for some. Yeah. Hey.
Like the alder one, that was more.
Go
ahead.
Okay, see you in home case.
How are you guys doing?
Iron old.
Moving is what it is.
Not this year. It seems like no one has been. I've been talking to. Nothing's slowed
And I had
down.
like probably 8 different construction crews this week that I don't know.
Yeah. I saw Three Rivers on gravel like all week.
Yeah, they came to my shop one day.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, just the quickest thing to get in and out. Same with over there on the Gallatin side, that taco bus over there, they kill it, like they're always a line.
The cousin crew, that's what I call them. I know Lone Mountain Land Management wants me up there and I'm.
Do they?
They want to build me into their retail. I'm like, I'm good, I'm done.
Yeah. Just like right in town center somewhere?
Yeah, right where the other Mexican.
Alberta?
They own the land right there and then they want to build me into retail. I'm done.
All right.
Yeah,
right.
Not young people.
Yeah,
Go
right.
pet plants or something.
Yeah.
Something different.
Yeah.
Something, or do this but somewhere paid.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't like. I'm over. I took a pharmacy after high school.
Yeah.
Then I bartended after I was petting horses. And it's just like I've been rapid my whole life.
I mean, you've got Ken Williams coming out, District 71.
I don't know. State Representative Ray Schottenmeier, but
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, with a new legislative session. Well, you have to work, it's like 3 months basically, unless they go to a special session. Seems like you've got experience.
I've got better.
Yeah.
More and learn more.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Same thing, except instead of studying town code, you're studying Montana code annotated on that. Yeah.
Sure. But it's 90 days.
Yeah, that's the main thing, that's the seller. Oh, you don't do it for the money. I mean, it's not like you do it for the money, but it feels like. Yeah. Why do some people are kind of tan, so I'm sure they'll get primary. But I don't know who. Yeah, so we got a D on it. Legislative like voting score right now, and I see why. I've been studying a lot of it.
I'm going back when I gotta go to bed.
Okay, cool. See ya.
Lauren, I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
See my new freebie.
Oh, I will.
They're set up for.
You did not.
Look for me.
So the work session.
Finally get to see a well. Council meeting.
Oh, it's very nice.
It was very nice. You all seem like you want to work well together. I like it. It's a breath of fresh air. And I like your quote because, you know, people were kind of losing some confidence over little things, you know, and that's why they were showing up more. That's what was spot on from what Dan Clark said. Like, so it felt good. It felt good just to hear you guys just talking amongst each other and just working through it.
Merry Christmas.
To a good year.
It is gonna be good.
Good, good.
Yeah, like I need to. Like, oh. No, we don't. Boys ordinance.
I just can't do it. I gotta just.
You know.
I'll try to how you do that. We want to.
Looking at that, you know, how to deal with it. Yeah.